same guy see me and pull the gun. My instinct was, it's broad daylight, about 15, 20 people right here. How can I get his attention off me? So what, you gonna shoot me in front of all these people? So now people looking, he left.
Okay.
You know, my heart beating, because this before the first time he done, that's never happened to me. I never held a gun before. I never had a gun before in the sense of a real gun. I had a pellet gun.
Yeah.
Never had a real gun before. And after that day, I got a gun. Because I was told again that not only pulling the gun, he told somebody he's gonna kill me and my friend. And I didn't, if I'm being honest, I didn't want to be in a situation. I didn't want to be involved in it, but I became involved in it because of my friend.
What happens when your worst fear becomes your reality? Hi, I'm Brent Cassity. Welcome to the Nightmare Success In and Out podcast, where we explore how to overcome your fears and nightmares and set yourself free. We're going to be exploring this topic with guys I was in Leavenworth with and others who survived their own nightmare. These stories can be inspiring, sometimes sad. There's some humor, but hopefully you can come away with a nugget of something that'll help you knock down some of the prisons you built up in your own mind. All right. Welcome back, Nightmare Success In and Out listeners. This is where you come for what happens when your worst fear becomes your reality. How do you adapt, survive, overcome, set yourself free? Folks, don't forget, follow, subscribe, share this thing out, like it up. It really helps the show, and I really absolutely appreciate all that. So who are we talking to today? Well, I know people who listen to this show love to hear comeback stories, and this is a comeback story. I'm going to throw out some numbers here. And what do these numbers mean? 16, 15, 31. So my guest, Eddie Ellis, he went to prison at 16 years old for manslaughter. There was a gun situation. 2 people had a gun. 1 person died. He served 15 years before coming out at the age of 31. During that time, Ellis spent most of his years in solitary confinement, with 6 years in the ADX Supermax in Florence, Colorado. So 16 years old in prison, 15 years in, 31 was when he got out. Just powerful numbers. And what he's done since he's gotten out is remarkable. He is a youth activist. He's a mentor. He's a criminal justice advocate, trainer, and motivational speaker. He's dedicated his time and energy and resources to working and improving the community at the national and local levels. Eddie established his own nonprofit called One by One Inc. He's all over the place speaking in high schools and colleges, and it's all about youth. He's also a subject of the documentary Out for Good. I think he's got something behind him there that says change is
possible.
Change is possible, which he's also an author of a couple of books. And he's also he joined the campaign for the fair sentencing of youth team in early 2018. And he's just all around being a guy that uses lived experience to help others choose the right path. And he's got the lived experience to really bring that about so that people can see and hear how to take the right path. I can't wait to jump into all this. Before we do, I want to recognize our show sponsor, Auto Plaza Direct. You know, who likes spending a couple of weekends walking car lots looking for a car? Then you spend 4 or 5 hours in the dealership to buy a car. It's kind of like a root canal appointment. Well, there's a better way to take care of all that pain and hassle getting a car. It's called Auto Plaza Direct. They're your personal car concierge. Just tell them the car you want, what you can pay, and they'll go find that car for you. They'll negotiate your best price. They also offer you warranties and financing. It's all full service. Go to autoplazadirect.com to get started with your personal car concierge, the new hassle-free way, the car buying experience you deserve. Auto Plaza Direct. Tell them Brent from Nightmare Success sent you. And folks, read this book. Dr. Rafai was a guest on the show. It's called Dr. Not Guilty by exonerated psychiatrist and internist Muhammad Ali Rafai. It's the battle cry and blueprint for anyone misjudged by a system that should protect the innocent. The book takes you inside the investigation, the courtroom, and hard nights when faith and courage remain. You will meet the prosecutors and agents who failed and the physicians, families, and patients who refused to surrender. This book reveals the truth about how power can distort justice and how resilience can truly set you free. Read it, share it. Join Dr. Rafai demanding accountability and restoring honor and dignity to medicine and the rule of law. Dr. Not Guilty. Go out and get that one, folks. And he was, I'm not sure what the episode was, but about 3 or 4 episodes back. So check that out. Doctor. No, it's not doctor. I'm talking about Dr. Rafai. Eddie Ellis. How are you, my man?
I'm doing well.
Let's just throw doctor on the front of Dr. Eddie Ellis.
Yeah.
That sounds good, doesn't it? Dr. Eddie Ellis.
Yeah.
Eddie, how are you?
I'm doing well. Feeling well today. Doing well.
So we just, I wish I would have hit the record button before we started. We just had some really good conversation, but one of the things that really takes your breath away when you're talking about what you went through in your life is that things happen for you so early in your life. And when we talk about somebody 16 years old that goes to prison, can you take us back, Eddie, that time? What was life like for you as a kid growing up before that nightmare happened to you?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. As a kid, and I always say this, Brent, I wanted to be a professional football player or basketball player.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to be that because we had athletes come in our community as a kid. I got a chance to go to Joe Gibbs football camp when I was a kid. I got a chance to meet a lot of the Bullets at the time, Nana's Wizards. I got to meet Cal Ripken as a kid, Eddie Murray as a kid. So for me, a lot of those people were doing good things for the community. Mm-hmm. And I figured if I can do something that I like doing and still make children happy, I'm giving back to my community. So that's really what I wanted to be. And I grew up in Washington, D.C. As a child. I lost my father early on. He was shot when I was a child, and which affected a lot of the way that I grew up and the way that I saw life. Going to play football and basketball. My mom would be on the sideline, my grandmother, but my father's not there. And it bothered me.
Eddie, how old would you have been? How old would you have been when he was killed?
I was 2.
You were 2 years old, so you really didn't, except from pictures and people telling stories, you wouldn't have known him.
Right. But and that's what I would think it would be. But the impact of it was a whole. Yeah. Especially, I don't know if it's a difference, but my father had a twin. Me seeing this twin. Trying to learn more about my father, and but it affected me. I went to therapy as a child to get support. Didn't talk to the therapist because I didn't trust the process as a child. Yeah. I didn't have the tools of language that I wish I had to really talk to the therapist to express what I was feeling. But early on, that's all I wanted to do. I loved school. I loved the outdoors. I always say I was a kid that was born in the city, but with a country heart. Yeah. Because I love the outdoors. I love riding horses. I love fishing. I did a little hunting with, slingshots with, birds and squirrels. And I just love that type of stuff. And, but I lost my way. I lost my way and started surrounding myself with around people who others would consider, bad people. But to me, these were people I played football with. So to me, they weren't bad people, right? They may have been doing things that they shouldn't have been doing. But to me, yeah, they wasn't. They were selling drugs, smoking weed, drinking beer. But I didn't sell drugs at the time or drink or smoke beer, drink beer or smoke weed. I just hung around them. Mm-hmm. And at the age of 15, I was arrested with, 2 other people in a car, in a cab. We were actually going to the movies. And the cab driver drove down the street and there was a roadblock. I guess it was just a roadblock there. And he jumped out and ran. The officers pulled guns on us, get out. Where's the gun? We don't have a gun. And they said we smell weed in the car. okay, somebody was smoking weed before they got in the car. Searched the car, went through the trunk, and found a duffel bag with some weed in it. So we're looking at each other like, we ain't going in the trunk. We know it's not ours. We
Right,
went
you're
from my
riding in a
friend's house
taxi.
in the car,
Yeah.
and that was my first time being arrested.
Mm.
And the police said, this is y'all stuff. Y'all was gonna rob this guy and go to the jail, lock us up, juvenile facility. And while I was there, I remember my mom used to say, if something wrong, try to find an adult and tell it, speak to the adult.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm trying to do. At this time, I'm green. I'm really green little kid,
Yeah.
And
15.
yeah, miss, we ain't do anything. Y'all got us here. Well, that's what all y'all say. And that was the attitude. And from that moment, I became frustrated. I cursed them out. They put me in the hole for the first time in my life, experiencing or ever hearing what a hole was.
Mhm.
And I stayed down there from 15 to I was 16. And on August 23rd, 1991, we were released. None of our fingerprints were on the trunk. None of our fingerprints was on the bag. The person didn't come to court. And I remember the judge saying, Mr. Ellis, I know you're happy, to be going home. And I said, not really. And my mother was looking like, if you don't shut up. But I was upset
Mhm.
because we were here for something that we didn't do.
Mhm.
And we said that. But none of the adults wanted to believe us.
Mhm.
And that moment started changing me as a person, the way that I viewed the system. And like, okay, you got me here anyway. I might as well now start really hanging around people.
Mhm.
And that's the, immature attitude that I took as a 15, 16-year-old. And my mother, she did all she could to keep me and my brother away from the streets. He didn't go on the streets, I did. And even moving us from DC to Montgomery County, Maryland, Silver Spring, which was supposed to have been like a suburban community, which I just kept going back to DC because that's what I was used to. My home,
Mhm.
my family, my friends are in DC. And after coming from the juvenile facility, my mother told me, she said, listen, you can't stay in this house without going back to school. And unfortunately, you've been out of school so long, right? You got to re-register. So I'm going to put you in Job Corps. I'm like, Job Corps? What is that? So she's telling me what Job Corps is. It's like a trade school
Okay.
with different trades and
Yeah.
educational opportunities. And now that I'm older and mature, I wish that I would have had the ability to finish Job Corps.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because nowadays that's being talked about more and more, the trade schools. That we need more electricians, we need more mechanic, we need all this plumbers and all these things. But there was a time period, I'm 58, there was a time period where that was really looked down upon, and I think that's being built back into society to know that's a really good way to go. It's just, kids don't know.
It is. It is a good way to go. If you think about a lot of our trades is being, outsourced and a
Right.
lot of other things.
Right.
And when you think about community back in the day, in many communities, the staple of the communities, a lot of times was those blue collar workers that did a lot of that hard nosed work. I mean, of course, you had, bigger, jobs in Wall Street and people, lawyers and stuff like that. But the people who kept the crux of the community together were those type of jobs, right? You can always find somebody in your community to be able to do one of those trades, right? And that's what I wish I would have been able to complete. But unfortunately, I wasn't. I go straight from the juvenile facility to the Job Corps, and the therapist in the Job Corps wasn't able to help me because normally the children were not coming from a facility to there;
Mhm.
they were coming from their home that haven't been in the facility. So it was a different conversation, but I carry the same mentality and attitude to the Job Corps.
Mhm.
Even as a kid, I loved to fight, and that same attitude I took there. I fought, and I had an attitude like I was still in this juvenile facility. And I remember being kicked out, and our peers the one who voted us back in. And I sent the message to my friends, say, hey, these 4 people is going to be judging whether I can come back or not. And the school didn't want me back, but my peers, they voted me back in to come back. And I'd done that like 2 times and got my friends to bully my peers to get me back in. And the last time I asked my friends, I said, let me ask y'all a question. Are y'all really trying to graduate? Mm-hmm. And they said, yes. So I said, okay, I won't be coming back. And they was like, why? And I said, I said, I'll see y'all again, but I won't be coming back. Because I knew my mind wasn't in the right place. And I knew if I stayed, those who I consider my friends may have went down the same road I went down and got in trouble because of me. So I decided to stay away from them.
So what did you do? What did you do, Eddie, when you checked out of that situation? Because that's where your friends were.
Yeah, I went home back to the city, DC. Started hanging around people who are in the streets right now, and one of my friends at the time had taken some drugs and a gun from a drug dealer. The police came down the street. The drug dealer was supposed to take it off him and put it down in the grass. My friend took it, and I come home from Job Corps. I wasn't with him when he took it. And my friend, when I come home, he said, hey, man, I took the guy drugs and his gun. I'm like, well, okay, cool. We out there selling drugs. My first introduction to selling drugs. And I was so green. He's like, no, you don't give people that much stuff. You give them this. I didn't know, right? I'm just becoming a part of this crazy environment. And possibly 2 weeks later, the guy realized that my friend had taken his stuff. Because my friend had showed the gun to somebody else and said, yeah, that's his gun. I know how, And the guy actually pulled a gun on me and my friend and said, y'all better return my stuff. My message to him was, I don't owe you nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. And he left. And I asked my friend, he's like, that's the guy that I took it from. Because I never saw the guy before. So I didn't know who he was. Approximately 2 weeks later, I'm going to the cleaners for my grandmother to get her clothes out of the cleaners. Same guy see me and pull the gun. My instinct was, it's broad daylight, about 15, 20 people right here. Mm-hmm. How could I get his attention off me? So what, you gonna shoot me in front of all these people? So now people looking. He left. Okay. My heart beating, because this before the first time he done, that's never happened to me. I never held a gun before. I never had a gun before in the sense of a real gun. I had a pellet gun. Yeah. Never had a real gun before. And after that day, I got a gun. Because I was told again that not only pulling the gun, he told somebody he's gonna kill me and my friend. And I didn't, if I'm being honest, I didn't want to be in a situation. I didn't want to be involved in it, but I became involved in it because of my friend. Mm-hmm. And people say, well, why didn't you call the police? That's not what we did. That wasn't no reality for us. And we had to deal with things the way they had to be dealt with. And it could either be leave it alone, something happened, somebody else do something about it. But I wanted to just be safe. And safe for me, I felt in my mind as a 16-year-old, because this guy pulled a gun on us twice. And then he tells somebody he's going to take our life. What's to have a gun? And on December 20th, 1991, my friend and I was going to a party in an apartment building. Party was canceled because some people were fighting at the party. And we're leaving back out the building. And the guy and 2 other people were coming up the steps. My friend say, hey, let me give you this gun to replace your gun. My friend had a gun with no bullets in it. It was an old 38 with no bullets in it, and the pin was broke. But the only way you know if you open it up and you can see the pin is broke. And the guy said he had the gun in the palm of his hand, not with his finger in the palm. Man, you can have this to replace it. The guy said no and went to his waist to pull out a gun. And when he pulled out the gun, I pulled out the gun I had and I fired the gun. And he was hit. At the time, I didn't know he was hit. I fired the gun a few times. He fell. My friend fell. So it happened so fast. I didn't realize what I needed to do. Should I stay? Should I run? And I went to pick my friend up and I said, you shot? He's like, no. So when he said that, I didn't think the guy was shot. Because why did my friend fall and he wasn't shot?
They both fell down, right?
Right. We ran to our girlfriend's apartment. Both our girlfriends shared the apartment. And we're in the apartment and we hear the ambulance, fire, police sirens going off. And I'm smoking weed at this time. So I smoked some weed and I'm sitting here like, I hope it's not for what just happened. Because I'm not sure if it is. But I'm hoping it's not. And a knock on the door. Police. Is somebody in here by these names? So my girlfriend said no. Because they asked for somebody named Eric. So she said no. So they come back again, knock on the door, but now a homicide detective's with them. And when she opened the door, the officer said, I'd like to talk to you. She didn't see the other officers on the side of the wall. So when she opened the door, said, okay, they barged in. And as they barged in, I'm sitting on the couch. The police walk in, says, your name Eric? I said, no, my name is Eddie. They say he fit the description, stand up. So I stood up. They went in the bedroom, found my co-defendant, laying on the bed, sleep. And that moment changed as the officer said somebody was killed on 13th and Columbia Road, Northwest. And my insides just dropped because I knew
What
that
were you thinking, Eddie, when they said that?
my life is over. I've taken somebody's life. I never wanted to be in this situation. And before I continue, I just want to say this with all due respect that, I take full responsibility for what I did. I'm making up no excuses about what happened. I'm just telling my story, and I give honor and respect to the decedent and his family. But yes, I was horrified by hearing that. I never wanted to be in a situation like that. Someone killed my father. I know how that felt to me, even as a child, even as a teenager, even as an adult. I know how it feels to not have my father. So it was a hard moment for me to try to digest and understand.
So what happens next? Are you immediately arrested and taken?
Yeah, they arrested us, put us in a car, and from the car, they said they transporting us to the homicide division. They took us downtown to the homicide division, separated us. They tried to play good cop, bad cop. Well, your friend said you done this, you done that. I said, well, if he said you believe what you want to believe, what are you saying? I said, listen, that guy was going to take the life of me and my friend. I defended myself and my friend in that moment. And I remember the homicide detective say, I don't believe that. And I said, well, you're going to believe what you want to believe. And he basically said, well, you want to be a smart ass. We're going to recommend that you be Title 16, which means charged as an adult in Washington, D.C. And at the moment, Title 16 didn't mean anything to me because I didn't know anything about Title 16 or anything. about these things. I'm green to the system other than going to the juvenile system. So those things meant nothing to me. But when we got down there, like I said, they questioned us, said what they said, and I took responsibility for trying to protect myself and my friend. And after I said that, I said I have no more to say. And then they got mad because they wanted to dig more and to find out what was being said, right? And I know it was 7 to 10 people out there.
Mm-hmm.
So the story is being told, but it's what story is being told that was important to me, right? My friend didn't do anything. It was me. I take responsibility for it. I was trying to protect myself and my friend. He pulled out a gun,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they said we didn't find a gun. I said, okay, that don't mean he didn't have one. And government witnesses through statements said they saw someone turn their back, bend down, take something off of them, and run. Of course, the police not gonna say we think it's a gun. But if it's nothing illegal, why would you turn your back to the crowd and take something off him and run? Because no matter what, you took it, right? Say if it could have been his money, you took it.
Right.
If it could have been his wallet, you took it, right? And then from there they said, y'all probably will never come home again. So
Man, that's some heavy stuff happening. And at that age, were you 15 or 16 when that?
I was
16?
16 when it happened.
16 years old. So you got your whole life flashing before you. You've got guys telling you that your whole life is flashing before you. When are you able to talk to your mom?
They let me call my mom at the homicide building. And I knew through conversations from other people who were what people would consider seasoned people that was in the street. Don't talk on those phones. And I just said, Mom, I'm locked up right now. Somebody got killed. And she said, what? I said, yeah, somebody lost their life. And I said, I gotta go. She kept trying to talk and I just hung the phone up. And then we were transferred to Central Cell Block where they hold you overnight before going to the court building. The next morning, we had our arraignment the next morning. We was held without bond. My co-defendant actually went to a juvenile facility because he was using a dummy name, a fake name for those made it, a fake name. And I was sent to the adult facility, but in the juvenile block,
Okay.
uh, which was North 1 at the time when I went to prison in 1991. And that first 3 days, Brent, I slept. I slept. I think I smoked so much weed the days leading up to that stuff and just the energy behind it that it took from me and, running the streets, and I slept. It seemed like when I woke up, my 72-hour hold was over. Now I could come out myself,
Yeah.
with everyone else. Because the first 72 hours, they do, like an evaluation to make sure you don't have no separations, you're not suicidal, and things like that. But while I'm in the cell, people bringing me stuff that I know. Here's some shower shoes. Here's some, some thermals. Here's some commissary stuff, and
Yeah.
things of that nature. But it was crazy.
It sounds, and by the way, for those listening down the Cayman Islands, the shower shoes are absolute must in a prison environment. I would have never have known that until I got there, and I had a bunkmate to my left that gave me shower shoes. He said, "You're going to need these. You don't look like you've been here before, but you're going to need these." And
Yeah.
you know, it is an interesting deal environment wise because you're a young kid.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got people reaching out to you, trying to kind of help you in that moment. Were you scared of everything around you? I mean, the reason I ask you that, Eddie,
Yeah.
is, man, I didn't know what to expect. When I was standing at the gates of Leavenworth, I was 46, getting ready to turn 47.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine standing in that room in that cell and being 16.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was frightening in a different way, in a sense of what's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Am I gonna ever see my family again? Am I gonna better, play with my little brother?
Mm-hmm.
Will my mother and grandmothers be alive?
Yeah.
That's the stuff I was really afraid of. And this is unfortunate. When I went there, it was a lot of my friends there.
Yeah.
People I hung out with, people I played football with the school with. So it wasn't nervousness in that sense. But I still didn't know what to expect until I had conversations. I come out, I see a group of us over here, and there's a group of guys over here, there's a group of guys over there. So in my mind, what's going on? Yeah, we don't deal with them. And matter of fact, the people on that side of the tier, we don't deal with them at all. If they open the doors at the same time, it's going to be an all-out fight. And so I'm getting the lowdown on everything. And that's what I did. Learn from my environment, made sure that, you got to protect yourself at all causes. You got to be willing to fight at all causes if you have to. Win, lose, or draw. Mm-hmm. And I've won some fights. I've lost some fights. And I always tell people, even the ones I lost against, one person we saw each other. He passed away now when he came home, but unfortunately, but we saw each other. We laughed about it, man. We got in each other's chest, man. But it was like we were adults. What nothing. We went to other jails together. We socialized together. It was just what we went through as young people. But some of the fear came from now you in DC jail. Mm-hmm. You're hearing about the next step,
right?
Which is Lawton at the time when it was open. When we had prisons, we no longer have prisons in DC. We have the jails. The prisons were closed starting in 1997 under the Revitalization Act. So Lawton, you hear all these stories, mm-hmm. and you're like, oh man, what's in store?
Well, I'm curious I'm trying to think about how these steps happen for you, because these detectives have talked to you already. Mm-hmm. You've already admitted that somebody pulled a gun and mm-hmm. you shot and someone died. Mm-hmm. They take you, away, arraignment. What happens next? Are you offered a plea? Are you going to trial? How does that all play out?
We went back to the jail. Another hearing was set to try to pick a date for trial.
Okay.
So we went to court, met our lawyers. Hey, they set a date for trial. We're gonna go to trial, self-defense. I didn't know it was a law called self-defense for self and others.
Okay.
Meaning if you're in a situation, if someone's trying to harm somebody and you defend yourself and that person, it can be self-defense. So we meet our lawyers, go through the process, and it was just weird because one of my lawyers was like, I had two lawyers, a lady and a man, and man was like, man, I never had a murder trial before. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, that's not good. You don't want to hear that.
Yeah, that's not good. I mean, what's going to happen to me? But what I learned was through the process, they were doing their best. They were trying their best to help me. Public defender lawyer. My mother they didn't have money to pay for no lawyer. Mm-hmm. You talking about a lawyer for, a murder case can run you $50, just back then, mm-hmm. $20,000 to $50,000, for a lawyer. And sometimes you got to give them $5,000 to $10,000 now to retain a lawyer for a homicide case back then. Especially the lawyers that were known lawyers that was beating cases. Mm-hmm. But, we get to learn our lawyers, go through the process of that. Our lawyers strategizing with each other, and we go trial set. As trials being set, I'm seeing a lot of people around me. I'm getting in fights because you're talking about months later, going into 92, that we talking about trial. People losing their trials, 50 years, 70 years, life. These 16 to 17-year-olds. So I'm like, wow. So our message there, which I know is in most prisons, we're going to hope for the best and look for the worst. Mm-hmm. Right? And as 16, 17-year-old, we didn't know what that meant. We was saying it because guess what? Everybody else was saying it.
Right.
We're going to hope for the best and look for the worst. And trial was set back. Something happened with government witnesses, trial set, not life-wise, something else happened. It was set back. And so our lawyers filing to get dismissal, get certain things dismissed. Because my lawyers say, your Fourth and Fifth Amendment was violated, unlawful entry, unlawful use of a photo array. But they put us in lineup with adults. Mm-hmm. If you say the person's 16 and 17, these people got full bids. Right? And then here's how horrible it was. A witness say I was short and stocky with a full beard. I'm 50 years old and don't have a full beard now. Right?
I don't either.
So she say short and stocky. When I was arrested, I was 110 pounds.
Okay.
When I was arrested. And then I realized two of the witnesses had charges of their own that they was trying to get dropped. And that's why they testified. The lady said she knew me since I was a child. What's his name? Eric. His name. She didn't know me. And so it's a lot of things happen with motions being filed, things trying to get thrown out and dropped. So when we finally hit trial, my co-defendant was to testify first. Mm-hmm. Right? We tried to get a separate trial because we could depend on our own evidence, right? Without affecting nobody else. My co-defendant can say, hey, I didn't shoot nobody. Right? I was there. Right? And I told my lawyer, I would rather that for him if he can get out. If he can get off this, let's get a separate trial. Mm-hmm. I pulled the trigger. I'm the one who pulled the trigger to take responsibility. The judge didn't allow it. So we had a one jury verdict, which means that he found guilty, I'm found guilty, both of us found guilty. He testified, and in his testimony, he says, I took this from this person. Eddie didn't know about it. Eddie come home from Job Corps, and then me and him hanging out, and the guy pulled the gun. Other witnesses testify on our behalf. The guy telling people he was going to kill them. I told them they should be, watch out, be careful. Government witness testify. I saw them do it. He's the one who shot. So they saying all these things.
Eddie, did your attorneys, when you were talking back and forth and you were preparing for this trial, did they feel like, because obviously there is a law in the books that you can protect yourself in self-defense. Did you feel like being in that trial room that was going to be the outcome?
I felt like I was going to walk out the door because if you say, not really walk out the door, because I had an illegal gun.
Okay.
So
you're going to come up with some charge, right?
Right. But can I protect myself? Right? Am I allowed to protect myself? Mm-hmm. So everything is being questioned with every witness. Did you really know him? Where did you see him? Where did he go? Where did he run? What did he have on? They had everything totally just wrong. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, how can the jurors listen to this? And I hope they don't believe this stuff. But as my co-defendant's testifying, he's basically saying what happened. He took the stuff, the dude pulled the gun on us. So my turn to testify, same thing. I don't know nothing about what was taken from him. Mm-hmm. Right? I just know this guy pulled a gun on me and my friend. Right? I was afraid for me and my friend. He pulled a gun on me a second time. The third time, he had a gun, I had a gun, when my friend was trying to replace his gun. Mm-hmm. Gun in the palm of his hand. No threat to you, no nothing. He went to his waistline to pull out a gun. I pulled a gun and fired a gun. And unfortunately, he was struck in the neck and he passed away. And as the jury, when we finished trial, deliberation, the jury came back saying we have a hang-up. Okay. So my lawyer's like, oh, we might be okay. They might be trying to think about the self-defense and what they need to do. Mm-hmm. So the rules sent back to the jury. They had to deliberate. One juror was saying, literally, they tired of this. They don't believe what happened. But the judge made them go back in. So my lawyer's like, dude, should we send the alternate juror in there? Because they sitting there anyway too, if this person don't want to be there. So no. They come back with guilty verdict. And the guilty verdict was this. The message from the jurors was this to the lawyers, prosecutors, judge. We was conflicted between finding them guilty on murder 2, because murder 1 would have been premeditated. Mm-hmm. You thought about this, you planned this, and you acted it out. Mm-hmm. Murder 2 would have carried more time. Manslaughter carried less time, but they said they felt everything happened because the stuff was stolen. If the stuff wouldn't have been stolen, Eddie wouldn't have been in the situation. Wouldn't have been a motivation. You testified that Eddie wasn't there. Mm-hmm. So if we believe that, we can't find him guilty on murder 2 because he still won't get a lot of time. If we find him guilty on manslaughter, it gives him a chance. This was their rationale. Okay. And because we couldn't get the separate verdicts, and one juror stated, if Mr. Ellis had a separate trial, we'd have found him guilty on the gun and not guilty on the homicide.
Wow.
But because of that, we were, again, found guilty. Family made statements, and the decedent's aunt, who was his guardian, asked the judge to have leniency on us.
Yeah, I read that in the that document.
We were children. Like her nephew was 19 years old. I learned his name upon his death and through the court. Didn't know his name. Mm-hmm. And for me, I didn't know what to expect. We found guilty. What's going to happen? We're 17 years old. We're going to spend the rest of our life. I don't know the difference between manslaughter and murder 1. So none of that makes sense to me as a 17-year-old child. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to figure everything out. Most of the stuff my lawyers were talking about, I didn't understand it. Mm-hmm. The legal terminology, I didn't understand most of the stuff they were talking about. Mm-hmm. But no, before we got found guilty, we were offered a plea bargain. Okay. To 15 years. Okay. And I told them no. And my lawyer went to my mom and said, please talk to Eddie. And I told my mother, I said, Mom, I'm not doing it. Because I didn't mean to do this. And he was trying to hurt us, Mom. My mother said, baby, I understand. She didn't. But as a mom, I understand. But 15 years, you have a chance to get out. Mm-hmm. If they give you a whole lot of time, you may not make it out. Right. So I'm conflicted with my heart saying, I know I didn't mean to do this. This is not what I set out to do. I didn't come outside today thinking about taking no one's life or harming no one. Mm-hmm. And again, the immaturity of a 16-year-old holding a gun, not understanding the impact of a gun, right? The consequences of these things, right? Doesn't stick to me like a person that's more mature. It's not sticking to me. And all of these things are flashing back. And the judge heard the victim impact statement, and the judge said, in my 20-some odd years of being on the bench, I've never had a case where someone lost a loved one and asked for leniency. I've only had give them the fullest sentence you can give them, and I always oblige. So, because she said this, we could have got like 35 years. The judge said, I'm going to sentence you all to 22 years. And to me, 22 years sounded like life.
Well, it would at that age. You were 17 years old now, and that 22 years in advance, that sounds like old people.
Yes. I'm like 22. I'm not even 20. I'm telling my lawyer, I'm not even 22 years old.
Right.
I mean, what am I going to do? Right. And she like, calm down. I'm like, calm down. What did you hear what these people said? 22 years. And I'm just like, and I said what I said to the family with all sincerity of not trying to pass blame on their loved one, But again, with the emotional intelligence that I had at that time, the emotional tools that I had, the tools that I had at that time to just talk about anything, I expressed myself in the most sincere way that I could to them, apologizing to them and explaining to them everything I just said. I didn't set out to harm your loved one. This situation came to me, and I'm sorry it happened. I wish it could be different. And I said to my family, I'm sorry. You know, Mom, you did everything you could to put me in a situation to be successful.
Yeah.
You know, you spent money that you didn't have to make sure we had opportunity. You worked 2 jobs to make sure that you had things for us. And I just sat down and they put the cuffs on us and took us back to the jail.
Wow. Well, let's take a break there because I want to talk about when we get back how you, as a teenage kid, went into what I would assume would be a pretty high security prison. It's not, I wouldn't think it would be lower security, but I want to talk about how you and I talked about this. You grew up basically in prison and how that happened and how you came out and why you've been able to do what you've done today. Before we
Okay.
do that, a lot of people don't like how they show up online. Many individuals think there's no hope when it comes to managing your reputation online. Well, there's hope. It's called the Discoverability Company that can help you. Whether you're building a reputation from scratch or you're repairing search results after a negative news story, Discoverability can also help you how you're portrayed on popular AI services like ChatGPT. To learn more, visit discoverability.co, not .com, discoverability.co. Listeners of Nightmare Success can take $100 off the DIY SEO course with coupon code Nightmare Success. And Nightmare Success podcast is sponsored by the White Collar Support Group. It's the world's first support group devoted to people navigating the white collar criminal justice system. I'm a member of the White Collar Support Group, and I can tell you there's a bunch of people who help each other through the criminal justice journey for free. Whether you're just starting your journey or you've made it through to the other side, this is great space for you. Join us on Zoom, Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And for more information, go to prisons.org. And if you want to check out more information about the White Collar Support, the White Collar Conference is on October 11th. Go to prisons.org and all the information is there. So, Eddie, deep stuff, man. I mean, you get taken back. You finally figure out where you're going, where you're being sentenced to for 22 years. Uh, how do you wrap your mind around all this?
But for real, I started crying when I went in the back. Um, Realizing again the impact that I've had on someone's family, the impact I had on my own family, the impact I've now had on my life. And I didn't know what to do. You know, for the next days, you know, I became sad, angry, you know, angry at myself, angry at the system, at the world. I just started feeling so many different emotions. And I remember um person saying, man, listen, they got some loads, busts coming up in the next week. Be prepared. You know, like I said, we heard all the war stories, the horrible stories about the next step in our prison system down here, how at times it can be horrible, violent at times. And I still don't know what to do to prepare, you know. But I'm preparing myself as much as I can, you know, to go down. And a week and a half later, I got called, you know, Ellis, bag of baggage. It's okay. Let me make a few rounds. I went to a few cells. Hey, man, I love you. I wish you the best. Other people, hey, I see you when you come down. You know what I'm saying? Be prepared, you know. And I got uncles and other friends that's down in Lawton, but Lawton had multiple facilities that you could go to. So you don't know which one you may go to.
Mm-hmm.
And but because I was sentenced, it's a sentence here in DC called Youth Act,
Okay.
Youth Rehabilitation Act. And it was really a sentence where a young person can get. You go into it's an adult facility,
Mhm.
but it allows you after your sentence, when you do parole, you can seal your case. So they was thinking like on the back end, what can we do to possibly help them on the back end? And in Houston, it's supposed to have been more programming opportunities for young people. It's supposed to be all these things to try to uplift the young person that's within this facility. But unfortunately, it wasn't those things. It was a lie, and those things really wasn't available for us on the front end.
Mhm.
But when I went down, I was automatically put in a hold because I was still 17.
Mm.
So I had to wait a few months until I turned 18 to be able to come out and go on the compound. So I'm in the cell with a person for the first time, never been in the cell with nobody. It's somebody I know, but still, I ain't never been in the cell with nobody. I got to learn, cell etiquette.
Yeah.
What does that mean? How do you use the bathroom?
Right.
How do you, how do you do all these things? You know what I'm saying? You brush your teeth, you wash your face. What do you washing your clothes? What do you hang on? What do you do?
Mhm.
So I'm learning these things in the process of learning like, dang, y'all got sweatsuits and boots and what, how do I get this stuff? Oh, your family got to send you money. So now I get to use the phone more, talk to my family. But at the time, I'm coming out in a cage with everybody in the hole. It's just a cage that hold 5 in this one, 5 in that one. And we can go to the phone, shower at the end of the tier. And I remember my first week there, somebody got stabbed in the shower. A single man shower. It's just 2 showers at the end with curtains on them. And somebody was stabbed. And I'm like, wow, somebody got stabbed. I'm in my head, I'm just like, wow, this is serious.
Yeah.
This is serious, And my friend was telling me, like, Eddie, man, you need to get you something to protect yourself, because everybody got it, and you don't know when you're gonna need it. So my friend sent me, handcuff key, knife, and some cigarettes. Use the cigarettes to buy stuff you need. He sent me 2 cartons of cigarettes. And that's what I did. Bought sweatsuits and, food that I needed and stuff, cosmetic stuff until I got my money in. And when I turned 18, now I'm able to go on the compound. There's, hundreds of people out on the compound, you know, access to more violence if it need be. But I got signed up in a program. I can go to school. At the time, I was taking typewriter repair, which was
Okay.
crazy because I don't know who was thinking typewriters gonna still be used. But I was in typewriter repair and in the maintenance, so I was cleaning up too and going to school. So I just felt good. I can go to the gym, play basketball. I wasn't in the, working out in the sense of lifting weights and none of that stuff then. I just want to play basketball, walk the compound, talk to my friends, go to school, get a visit. And that's what I did.
Mhm.
Until one day, it was an older guy I got into an argument with, and he pulled a knife out on me. And young boy, you gotta stop, yeah, da, 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 da. And I'm like, okay. And that night, I said, I can't let him get away. You know what I'm saying? If I let him get away, he might try anything. So the next morning, me and him got into a very bad physical altercation. And they sent me out of the facility and sent me to another facility. And from there, I went from that facility for a few years, then went to the maximum facility for a year. And then they started closing our prisons. A lot of people don't like to use this language, but I do. DC system sold us off to private prisons
Mm.
because I wasn't locked up and put right in a private prison. Y'all created a contract and sold inmates to Correctional Corporation of America.
Yeah, and I've had people. Well, I had people at Leavenworth and other people that have been on this show, and those people who come from the private prisons. I almost think it's the BO. I come from the federal world, so the BOP
Mhm.
is got all kinds of broken promises and systems and things that need to be fixed. But when I heard from the people that came from the private places, you got people that are trying to make money,
Right,
hurting and cattling people,
right.
and trying to save money on feeding them and all this other things that
Right,
go on to just general care, those two things don't match well together. Even though the BOP was really broken and these guys said, "Hey, this is," but you hear about this over here where I came from, and it's
right,
really bad.
right.
So I've never really been able to understand how the private prison system can work if it's done for a for-profit purpose.
Right. It's really a business that people are buying in stocks in, and they build them in states where, especially small towns where a lot of them were, and trying to create quote unquote jobs for people.
Yeah,
And we need bodies in there.
yeah,
So states started contracting certain, folks that's incarcerated into these privatized prisons. And when they did us as a city, you had people who went to New Mexico, Arizona, Florida, Tennessee, Texas.
yeah. And I
Um,
was reading you were in Florence, Colorado.
yeah, I went to Youngstown, Ohio at the time,
Okay.
and we got into real bad fights, and a lot of stuff happened up there. When I left, I got kicked out of Youngstown, and when I got kicked out of Youngstown, I was put on maximum security status. So when I went back to DC maximum facility, which was the last one open, they automatically sent me to Red Onion, which is a state ran private prison in Virginia. It's a maximum security there. So while there, my custody now is max again because I'm in this max facility. They let me out the hole to come out. My jacket comes because they got a dummy jacket they send, which is a smaller jacket with a little bit of information, your name, your time,
Mhm,
if you have any separations.
mhm.
So my bigger jacket come. I had assaults on officers before, fighting and other stuff. They took me off the compound in a supermax prison because of this.
Wow.
And unbeknownst to me, I was supposed to have been on a federal load to go to Oklahoma 3 weeks ago, but I hurt my ankle playing handball. So they wouldn't give me a medical clearance until my ankle
Yeah.
was so-called better. So when I
And you
got
know
my
that's a good point because this show goes into 1,100 prisons. One of the things that you want to make sure that you never do when you're getting close to the door is get hurt because
yes,
it can be. There was a guy that was in uh, the D block with us that had seizures, and until
mm-hmm,
they were able to regulate his seizures, they kept him for an extra 8, 9, 10 months,
mm-hmm,
and it was only because they couldn't regulate what the medication was, but they wouldn't release him. And
mm-hmm,
like you said, a sprained ankle. I know another guy that was playing softball and he was supposed to get out and he got a broken wrist. He had to wait a whole nother, 2 or 3 months.
yeah,
It's a terrible thing to need medical when you're in prison. It's
yeah.
even worse if you're trying to get home.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. And through this process, now I'm coming from, you know, nation's capital prisons, right? Private prisons,
Yeah.
a state prison, Pound, Virginia, Red Onion. Now I'm going to Oklahoma City, federal hold on.
Okay. So
And
how does that happen, Eddie? Because it was a state charge, right? For manslaughter.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
How do you blend into and get crossed over into federal?
We have no more prisons.
So it was just like, handing out people.
Yes. Now they start
Okay.
sending people they kicked all of us out
So if they
private
had
prison.
room in a federal prison,
You was gone.
you just go.
Yeah, you
There's
going,
a
you going
bed
to
over here in Florence. You can go even though it's federal. Okay.
you going. And because I'm on max status, when I go to Oklahoma City, I don't know the difference between the top floor and the bottom floor.
Right.
So I'm asking people, I'm like, food horrible. I'm like, man, is the whole jail locked down? They was like, nah, you just on a lockdown unit. I'm like, what? I'm in the Fed. Why you got me on? So I'm trying to, get my way out to go in the population.
Right.
No, I'm on 3-man hold. So I can't go out unless 3 officers there to escort me.
Mm.
And I went out on the yard, it's not really a yard, it's like a cage on top of the building with wire around it.
Hmm.
You in there by yourself. You can work out. put your shirt through the
Is this
cage.
the Oklahoma transport facility?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I'm working out in the cage with my shirt and doing all those things. So I stayed there approximately almost a week. And no phone call, no nothing, no stamp.
How many years have gone by, Eddie?
This
Because I know
was
you did a total of 15 in. How many years are you in till you get to the Oklahoma place?
this was like 7.
All right, so you're about halfway.
Yeah,
Or
this is
more than
like 7
halfway.
years. Yeah, this is like 7 years because you're going to 2000. And because let me see, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 8, 99, 2000. No, it's like 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
Yeah. So we get on the bus. They driving us to Colorado. So we coming out, going to the bus, we driving. So I hear people saying, man, we going to the Florence complex. I don't know what none of that stuff is. So I'm like, okay. So we get up there. I hear people talking. Yeah, Supermax, man, they gonna come get you. Your feet not gonna touch the ground, and all these stories. And so we don't know where we going because around the Florence complex, you got the high security, you got the penitentiary, you got the camp, and you got the Supermax. So we don't know. We pull up to the camp. They took the cuffs off the person on the bus. Oh, you can go ahead and walk out. He went on, walked out, and walked through the building. I guess they did what they did with him. Penitentiary. They calling names. I say, Marshall. He's like, yeah. I said, man, you ain't calling my name. He said, what's your name? I said, Eddie Ellis. He said, oh, you going to the back. So I don't know what it means to go to the back. So everybody like, dang, he going to the ADX. So I'm hearing people say that. I'm like, okay, it's a prison. It's another prison. So I'm the only one went. The next 30 or 40 people then got off the bus. I'm the only one left on the bus. Drive up the hill. I'm like, the marshal's like, I don't know what you did to get here, but I don't, you gonna probably be here for a while.
What Eddie did they say you did to get that?
Here's the thing.
That treatment.
Because I still have the max status on me from back home, from Red Onion. Yeah. I still had the max status on me. So it was never removed.
Okay.
Right? And I got in trouble over the years, fights, stabbings, and all that type of stuff over the years. But the reality was I never got my custody changed.
It just stayed with you all the way through. Okay.
Right. And because other people had chances to get their custody changed when we were sent back from the private prisons, they got sent to open population prisons in the BOP.
All right.
And so we pulling
up in this ADX. What in the world are you thinking?
I ain't know what to think.
I ain't know 10 years in, but you haven't been 10 years into this.
Yeah, not this. Right? So I'm like, wow. Okay. That's what this is, a Supermax prison. I'm like, I just left a Supermax prison. So in my mind, I done been locked down. And no, it was 9 years. It was 9 years at this time when I went there. Because I spent 6 years there. And when the officers came out, it was like 15 officers. Batons, little, like, I don't know if it was real shotguns or beanbag shotguns.
Yeah.
The camera, what's your name? What's your number? And all these things. So I answered the question. They give me a rundown. Hey, when you come here, you don't do this, you don't do that. This is a lockdown facility, Supermax. I'm like, okay. My mind dealt with being locked down before. I don't care. They take me in, put me in the hole, what they consider the hole, and I'm like, man, these people got me back here and here. So then you start hearing stories when you write your family. Oh, they got all these people up there. You shouldn't be up there. These people, But to me, we're all inmates.
Right.
I always tell people, I don't care how much money you made or didn't make. We got the same budget every month to spend on commissary, unless you got somebody else spending for you. Other than that, it didn't make a difference to me. And I wasn't caught up on, these guys' names that was there, and I didn't care anything about none of that stuff. But the feds were different to me than it was back home. In the sense of the race breakdown. I've never experienced that before. And it was different for me because my spirit didn't allow me to accept what I was seeing. I want to accept people for who they are. I ain't no fool, right? But I want to accept people for who they are. I want to see people for who they are. And that's my energy. That's my spirit. And when I went there, I'm talking to people who talking to me.
Right.
You know, I didn't care nothing about that stuff, but they're a part of that. I'm not a part of none of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Hey, speak. Hey, how you doing? Okay. You want to play handball? Come on. We play handball, whatever. That's what it was. But the energy of that stuff was like toxic to me, right? I wasn't raised like that. That's not my spirit, the way I look at people. If that's my friend, I don't care whether it's raised, I don't care where it's state, that's my friend. And that's what I did. Worked out, started working out. And there was a lot of stuff happening in the facility where some of us felt like they was trying to set certain people up. You come out your cell. Like one day I was coming out my cell, I'm handcuffed and shackled. So going to the inside cage. And my friend on the inside said, hey, nah, don't go in the cage. So my first instinct, I put my foot to the ground, which pushed back on the correctional officer. And the correctional officer, I said, hold up. I said, nah, I'm good. Because I don't know what my friend saw. He in his cell. So when they put me back in the cell, I see a guy jump down from the top of the cage. I said, it's on. In my head. I said, okay, it's on. So when they get him out of the cage, the officer was like, Mr. Ellis, we didn't know he was still in the cage. He was hiding up top. In my mind, all y'all together. I don't care what you're saying. In my mind, if I ever come close to this guy, we're going to see each other. Because I don't know what you was trying to do. I don't know what you was trying to do. So when they finally put me in the cage, he yelling out, Eddie, nah, it wasn't. I was trying to put something up. I go up there. It's a razor blade. I take it. I say, I'm taking it. Man, I'm leaving. I don't care what it is. I'm taking it. You know what I'm saying? I'm taking it. So I get my buddy slide, a fishing line across the thing, put in the thing, pull it out. You ain't getting that back. You can use that against me or one of my friends. So that's the type of place that was, where it was shiesty. The CO made
everything was tense, and you had to look around.
Yes.
And make sure you didn't have something.
Yes.
Sneak up on you.
Yeah. So I just.
How many years were you like that?
I was in there for 6 years in ADX, but my whole time there, it was very tense, very serious, but what I realized was I am physically locked up. I can't let them control my mind.
Yeah.
And I started to read more, study more, meditate, exercise more, and
what came to you on that, Eddie? Like, was it just some day you said, "Hey, listen, I'm what you just said. They got me physically, but I'm not going to let them take me mentally." Is that what happened?
Yeah,
a lot of people with what you just described, that will break somebody,
right?
In that environment,
right. It definitely would. What I started doing, to be honest, I started reflecting on life.
Yeah.
Conversations I've had in life. Because some things you can hear and you're not mature enough to receive it. And it sit there sometimes.
But the other thing too, were you thinking at some point here, I've been in this sentence now for, I don't know how many years we're talking. Did you start thinking about what was going to happen to you as I'm getting close to the door, getting out? Like, when did that start happening for you in that environment?
I think when I got to the ADX, like I said, I was 9 years in when I got to the ADX, because I spent 6 there. I started thinking more about it.
Okay.
But I've seen somebody die in jail that had 30 days left before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to me, I ain't free until I'm free. And my thing has always been put your foot on the pedal until you get through the door.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always been my mindset. Lead with peace, but be ready to defend yourself at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I done my time. Respectful to everybody, whether I liked you or didn't like you, or whether somebody felt that you didn't deserve the respect. I still felt like respecting someone was important to me, because I don't have to disrespect you because I don't like you. I could just not say anything to you and you don't say anything to me. And I just started growing and maturing and looking at life and situations different. But also, again, started reflecting on,
Oh, and you're maturing
seeds.
also. Also,
Yes,
you are actually growing up in prison
yes,
through your teenage and then your 20s.
yes,
You begin to think differently, but you were in an environment where you had to also protect yourself while you're trying to grow and mature.
right, right. Because people don't care if you change, and people will really take a shot at you when they feel like you changed, because they feel like you became weaker, and
Yeah.
they'll take a shot at you, right? So I always kept that in the back of my mind. I work out hard every day, 2 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
But I also, like I said, I fed my spirit.
Yeah.
I believe in a higher power. It got to be something greater than us that's here, whatever it's called, right? It's
Yeah.
something that's greater than us. And I daydreamed a lot.
Okay.
Um, Things I wanted to do, things I wanted to be.
What did you
Uh,
think? What were you thinking? What did you want to do and what did you want to be?
that professional athlete. But now I'm thinking about now, one of my series of books I used to love was Louis L'Amour. I used to love, Smokey Jensen books, the Western books.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking I'm a black cowboy,
Okay.
right? I used to love riding through the West in my mind, riding through the mountains. And, that was just my escape, because I rode horses as a child
Yeah.
when I was in elementary school.
Yeah.
So to read the book of somebody riding horses on the trail and doing these things,
Yeah.
that
Pure
was me.
freedom. Yeah.
It was freedom.
Yeah.
And I created scenes. When I got magazines, we couldn't keep nothing on our wall in the feds. But I picked scenes in magazines like, okay, this is a lake. This is a house. This is a field. This is some animals. So in my mind, as I look at it, I put it together as something I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at the lake fishing. I love fishing. I
Mm-hmm.
love fishing, right? Hey, this is my house, right? I got a wife. I got kids. So this is what I'm thinking about. I got the animals. I love animals. I got the trees with the grass.
Mm-hmm.
And I switch the scenes as much as I could as I get magazines, right? And any program I can get, I'm taking it. Send me books. Send me this. So I'm reading, I'm preparing myself. And then I thought about the situations we're in
Mm-hmm.
as I matured to think about my life. I'm worth living. I am worthy of my freedom. I'm worthy of doing something with my life. And so I challenged some guys around me who had life, double life, triple life. Man, let's see who get our GEDs first. Whoever get it first and second, we got to buy them 5 tunas and soups apiece.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
2 of them got locked down. 1 of them went to a penitentiary. I stayed. I'm still there. 2 of them there sent me a letter. Eddie, we got our GED. What's up with you? Where you at? I missed mine by 2 points, the math, by 2 points. So I'm frustrated. I'm like, man, I got to get this. Now I'm in 3rd place already. I got y'all when I see y'all. I owe y'all. The one on the compound sent the message back through his sister. Yeah, he got his GED. So I said, yeah, those 2 got their GED too. I'm the last one. I'm like, dang, I got to get my GED. But I'm taking world religion, calculus classes, banking skill classes, anger management, coping skill. I'm taking everything I can take
Anything
that's
you can
available.
get. Yeah.
Yeah, anything I can get. So it's 2005. I see the parole board. I can either leave parole early or I'm going to max my time out. And I see the parole board, and I remember the lady, she was judging me off new DC code. And I said, no, I'm supposed to be judged off the old DC code. And she went back through it. She said, well, yours mandatory release. She said, you've done everything we asked you to do. Mandatory program, you've done that. You've been right up free since 1998, right? It's 2005. You ain't been no trouble, right? Superior programming. So she asked me plans and all that stuff. So I'm giving her everything I think she want to hear. Parole board returned my parole thing and said denied. Based on institutional history, we don't think you're prepared to go home. So what I understood is this. The politics of this is this. If I go home and you parole me and I get in trouble and it don't stick, you can only hold me for that few months I have left on my max out. So what they want to do really say, Mr. Ellis, no, we ain't going to let you go now. We're going to take you to your max out date. So you have to go into that 7-year parole anyway, instead of still on that few months of parole option, right? And the horrible part is I lost my uncle months later and I would have been home to be able to at least see him. And it really made me frustrated again, on what's happening and how the system plays games with people. And so they tell me you have to get in reentry program. I said, okay, where are they? They said banking skills. I said, man, I don't have no money. What are you talking about banking? Where's the programs at? What do I need to do? I never been in no prison for this and had to learn what to do when you come home. And I just studied myself. Wrote people, hey, what is reentry program? What is these things? And people sent me information back. I shared the information with other people who had life. I said, give yourself hope. Give yourself hope. Don't never give up on your life. And I became a guy in ADX with some of the guys I dealt with, like, let's exchange books. Let's talk about the books. Let's talk about what we read. And let's talk about what it is to be a man. What that feel like to you? What are the choices we can make as men? That's good choices, right? Let's start speaking up against some things that we don't believe in, and that's what we started doing. These were guys from different races, different cities, and we come out, have conversation. Of course, you had people who were separated by gangs and all that other stuff. We ain't got gangs here. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know nothing about gang life other than what I'm seeing in this stuff. So, but we wanted people who wanted to be there to have conversation, to grow and learn. And, we had a little book club. We had a few guys that was Muslim, Jewish and Christian, where they'd sit and read their books together and not compare in a way of putting one down, but to see what we can find that was in common, right? So that was this growth and people trying to learn about each other, right. And that's what I continued to do until I walked out the door.
Well, tell me about that. So you finally get to that point. You've been in for 15 years. What is it like walking out?
I was bagging baggage again, leaving. It's okay, going to Lewisburg. And haven't been out in population 10 years. I am so just excited at the moment. Y'all gonna have to be in a hole for at least 3 days. Mind you, I've been in the cell by myself for 10 years. They put me in the cell with 2 other people. I said, they trying to set me up. They trying to set me up. Y'all know I just came out of solitary confinement for the last 10 years. And you put me in a cell in the hole with 2 other people. I knew one of them. He knew of me. The other one I didn't know. They knew each other. My anxiety is on 1,000. I had nobody moving around in my cell. They moving, I'm jumping up. Man, what you doing? Oh, I was just walking to the door. Right? And I'm just like, we got to come to a consensus. You know what I'm saying? Y'all going to the bathroom? Tap me. Man, I'm about to get up and go to the bathroom. That's for my nerves. All right, appreciate it. Right? I'm ready to go to the door. I said, I don't care if I'm asleep, tap me. Because I don't want to get in the mindset, I jump up, not realize, what, he in my cell, who is, I don't even know what to feel. Mm-hmm. And they went out the whole 2 days before me. But because I'm coming from the ADX, and a lot of people coming to the fence, talking to me, mm-hmm. the warden say, who is this person? Where he coming from? The ADX. Why is all these people coming to the gate talking to him? So when I go through orientation again, they said, why is all these people coming to the gate? You coming from the ADX. You was there for a reason. Why is all these people coming to talk to you? I said, those are people I grew up with, whether it's in the street or in the system. Mm-hmm. These are people that I ain't seen in years. Yeah, we don't know if we letting you out. I said, sir, let me say this to you. I go home in less than 90 days. Oh, I ain't know that. I said, yes. I said, I hung up everything that y'all might think is about trouble, negativity. That's not who I am. The next day they let me out. So I go to J Block, got my celly, put my little stuff in there, go around the compound, find some people, get some stuff together. And I'm walking around and people like, Eddie, be great, go in. I'm like, all right, go ahead. Eddie, be great, go in. All right, go ahead, I see you tomorrow. So about 4 of them lingering around, they're like, listen, man, we don't be out here all day. We hit the yard, go to Unicorn, eat, talk for a little while, we back in. Because they've been out of population for the last 5, 10, 15 years. Mm-hmm. I've been locked down. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go in until they make me go in.
Right.
So some guys, man, look, Eddie, it could be a safety thing. We want you to be prepared, because there's a lot of things happened before I got there, while I was there. So I understood where they was coming from. You know what I'm saying? Be mindful about, what's going on. Cool. So got on the basketball team in J Block, played some basketball, out there playing handball and preparing to go home. And my preparation was staying focused on the mission, staying positive, right? Stay in communication with the people that's supporting you on the outside. Try to encourage some of the men around you to stay positive, to keep fighting for their freedom. And the day before August 23rd, 2006, an officer came to my cell on the 4 to 12 shift. He said, we're going to ask you whatever you want to take home, give it to us now so we can process it. Go through it, search it, rest of the stuff you won't be able to take. So I said, okay, I gave him my stuff. And it became real. Mm-hmm. And me and my celly sat there and made wraps. And we ate some wraps, some tuna wraps and everything. We sit there, we made us a vegetarian pizza, played some dominoes. And he said, man, I don't know if I'm gonna ever make it home. But don't come back, man. And I sit there and got emotional because I thought about the people I'm leaving behind, mm-hmm. who don't really have dates. Mm-hmm. They have letters. And the ones who do have dates, it's 100 years, 150 years, 200 years. And but I took my GED before I left, before I was told to leave. I took my GED, the math section. And that morning, they came and got me. People, man, Eddie, stay strong, man. Stay out there. Connect my mother, man, my sister. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that. And I go to R&D, put me in the cage. My brother, he had drove up here with his girlfriend in Lewisburg, gave me some clothes and shoes. I put that stuff on. And I walk out to the gate. Yeah, I walked out the door, and the officer said, what's your name and your number? And I gave him my name and number. He said, I hope I don't see you no more. I said, I hope I don't see you anymore either. And I walked out and gave my brother a hug, and I cried because, again, the people I'm leaving behind, most of them may never have a chance to come home. And I met a lot of good people, all races, all religions, that I was really close to from across the world.
Yeah.
And now I remember getting in the car, I'm so nervous because I ain't been in a vehicle and so, like a car. We was in vans with cages. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, so I'm like, man, I had to put the seatbelt on. My brother's like, man, you in the back seat, you ain't got to worry about no seatbelt. I'm like, no, I'm putting the seatbelt on. I put the seatbelt on, and I heard a phone ring, and he say somebody want to talk to you. So he gave me the phone, and I'm like, hello, and he was like, hold the button on the side. I'm like, hold the button, hello. So at the time they were still, I guess, chirping, what they call at the time, like a walkie-talkie
Yeah, yeah.
phone. So I'm like, man, I don't want to talk to them like that. When I left the streets, the people had the big cell phones
That's
or the
right. Big,
ones like a battery or a
yeah, like a
5-pound
big bag.
barbell,
Yeah.
right, on the bag, And I'm like, man, I don't know how to use it. And it's so small in my hand. I'm like, it's weird. So he said, you want to get something to eat? And I said, nah, let's just get away. I don't want them to say it was a mistake. You got to come back. Let's get away. And we got miles and miles down the road. Now I remember I said, man, let's stop. I want some bubble gum. Of all things, some double mint bubble gum. And I ate that bubble gum like it was a T-bone steak. All the way back to DC. And we talked, about life. He happy I'm home, my family. And he like, what you gonna do, Eddie? I said, I don't know.
Mhm.
I said, I never had a real job before, so I'm not sure. I said, but what I am sure about is the way that I want to live my life. And I could tell you, Brent, for the first 120 days, I was in two programs, a 28-day program and a 90-day program.
Okay.
And when I left the 90-day program, I went to live with my mom. And my mom helped me put job applications in. My friends helped me put job applications. I remember literally like 100 jobs. My mother like, what you want? I said, anything that's easy. And they was like, nah, you don't want nothing easy, my brothers. I said, no, understand this. I haven't worked out here.
Mhm.
If I get something that's too challenging, I might fold.
Yeah.
I might walk away from it.
Don't want to get
Let me
overwhelmed.
start somewhere where it's comfortable for me
Yeah.
and go from there. And that's what I did. I got a cleaning job. After I tried to get a job at Home Depot. They gave me the job, took a urine, passed it, right? Did a background check, even though that thing say 7 years.
Mhm.
They took the job back. And I'm like, man, damn, what do they want us to do? If I can't get a job, I
Yeah.
want to work,
Yeah.
right? You took the opportunity away from me. And I remember a class action lawyer called me, said, we're doing a class action suit. Your name came up. I said, man, I don't care nothing about this stuff, man. And I was in the mindset, I almost gave up. I'm doing everything I can to get a job, to
Mhm.
work. I'm not being lazy. I'm getting off my butt. I'm going to job temp agency. I'm going to program. I'm doing all this stuff to show that I want to do it.
Mhm.
Then when you give it to me, you take it back.
Mhm.
So I'm like, this the world want. This is what the community want us to do, to just throw everything away. And I remember my mom asked her coworker who had just created a cleaning. He bought into a franchise cleaner company. And she said, my son looking for a job. And he was like, if he want to work, he can work. My mother called me, she said, I got you a job. I'm like, what? Where? He said he could come get you today. I said, I'll be ready. He's coming to get me at 5. I was ready at 2. My headphones on.
Yeah.
I'm
Got
ready.
an
I'm
opportunity,
working out.
man.
Yeah. So, but I'm gonna tell you, we get stuck in time somewhat.
Yeah.
When I'm waiting for him, I remember going to work out. I got my headphones on, my bandana, right? Sony's, my clear Walkman, and a battery pack. Hooked up. Got my tape on. I'm running. My baby brother, who was born a year later after I went in, he come over there. Hey, Eddie, Calvin called. He on the way to get you. I said, okay. How long you gonna be here? About an hour. Okay, I can go wash up. And my little brother looked, he say, what is that right there? I said, what? He said, on your hip. I said, that's a Walkman with a battery pack. He said, man, they don't wear Walkmans out here no more. And I said, what? He's like, no. He said, they got MP3 players. I said, I don't know nothing about that. I got a Walkman with a cassette tape.
That's right.
I know that. I know how to work that.
Uh-huh.
And he shamed me so much, I donated to the Salvation Army. And but the work, I cleaned up that building. He had 4 or 5 contracts. I cleaned up. And I remember my first check. We get paid every 2 weeks, $350. I told my mother, I said, Mom, I got paid. I'm gonna give you half as soon as I cash it. She said, how much you get paid? I said, $350. She what, $3,500? I said, no, $350. She bust out laughing. She said, boy, I thought you talking about $3,500. She said, keep your money. I said, nah, Mom, I'm gonna give you something. So I gave her $100. She said, give her $100. I gave her $100. But to me, it wasn't about how much I was getting paid at the time. It was getting used to being responsible out here in the community.
Right. Getting into your groove.
Right. And working. And while doing that, I started doing community advocacy work while I was on parole. Speaking up for people in the parole office, having meetings with people, then, sitting with folks that's on parole, trying to empower us to understand how we can control our destiny while on parole. Here's our rights, right? And that's what I did. That's what I did for cleaned up and done that for many years. Got connected with National Legal Aid to be on their board. From being on their board, I created a resource book 2 years later to go inside the BOP for folks that was locked up from DC. And that hit the Washington Post. People saw it. And I remember G.I. Joe was a cartoon I used to love. And I remember a message, knowing is half the battle. So I said, if I create the resource for people to see it, that's half the battle for them.
That's right.
And that's what I did. And I started speaking at different schools and, at different political venues and being honest about myself and not trying to just discourage the system. There's a lot of things about the system I don't like, but being responsible for what sent me to prison. And
I saw some of that. You can see some of it on YouTube. And there was a professor that had you in to speak to his class. And I thought you did such a good job, Eddie, at just being real, just raw, real. And I could see those students, they had a guard up. And as you spoke, it started to loosen and to where these kids started getting really comfortable and asking you questions. And I just know that when you walked in, when you left, there was an impact made of how they felt. And I think they even spoke to some of the kids before they went into that room and then after. And it's those type of things and I don't even know really what got you into that. I guess it's probably you were doing some of that when you were in prison. You had the book club, you're trying to keep people hopeful. And so you started doing that on the outside, but being where you've been and then going into a room like that, that's where barriers can be broken down.
For
because people have a perception that this is all bad. People are never redeemable. They probably deserve to be in prison for the rest of their life if they have a conviction. And by you going and speaking and being there and being right there, letting them converse back and forth and ask their questions and you being able to answer those in a way that they can understand steps forward and makes that impact. It might be one person, it might be 10 people, it might be the whole room, but you're affecting change. And that's what I love about what you're doing and what you've done with your story, because those are the things that make things move.
It is. And like the professor you spoke about, he's a peace advocate, Coleman McCarthy.
Yeah.
I love Coleman. Awesome person. And two of his students came. I was in a play that I'm not promoting, but two of his students met me at the play.
Mhm.
and was like, "You got to meet my professor." They talked about him like, sliced bread, like he's the best thing since sliced. I said he can't be that much of a good person. And when I met Coleman, I said, "Man, y'all was right on time
Yeah.
in who he is." And I spoke to
And
his
he's an
class.
older guy. It's not
Yeah,
like he's a young activist. He's an older guy.
no, Coleman is an old activist that's been fighting for a long, when I mean a long,
Yeah.
long time. He's true to who he is. He's true to his message of peace. He's true to the humanity of people.
Yeah.
And it was an honor for me to be able to come in that think tank with his students and not only speak with them, but learn from them as well.
Mhm.
And I tell them, listen, I'm not coming here to convince you one way or another. I'm coming here to have a dialogue with you. You could agree to disagree, right?
Mhm.
And we can have conversation about how that look.
Mhm.
And I've done that. And I can tell you this. I had young students from his class that asked me write letters for them when they was going to law school,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
I got some now that I'm still in contact with that are partners in law firms, right?
Yeah.
That were
See that
international
and,
prosecutors.
and Eddie, that's what I'm talking about. If you're not there and if you're not speaking and if they don't make that connection, then they don't have that in their file memory.
Right,
And it doesn't change them when they're going to be now in law school and they're going to be an
right,
attorney. But by that moment, and when you're all together, those are the things I'm repeating myself, but those are the things that make change happen.
right,
And I love that you're not a lot of people for whatever reason it could be shame, it could be whatever these things are that surround us and we, imprison our own mind. But I think when you get to the point where you're comfortable talking about yourself, your story, and you own it, people then can relate. And if
right,
you can get people to relate, that's where things meet in the middle. Is
right.
that meeting of the minds. And I think that's what you're doing that's so effective. And I mean, you're out now, let's see, 2006, we're 19 years.
Yes.
19
August
years.
23rd was 19 years.
19 years.
Yeah, 19 years and done a whole
And
lot of work.
personally, was it being in that amount of time for you, was it just everyday life? Did you feel like you'd gotten institutionalized to where how long did it take for that to wear off, or do you still have a little bit of that?
Oh, you gonna always have that. I tell people what I've learned about being institutionalized is this. My mother, who worked for federal government for almost 30 years, she's institutionalized.
Yeah,
If you was a teacher for 20, 30 years, you've been
you're
institutionalized.
institutionalized, right?
But it's what you do with those moments that make it matter at the end of the day. And
Yeah,
I've decided to not let those things destroy my life.
yeah,
Even when I came home and was hand washing my clothes and hanging them in my
yeah,
bathroom, my
yeah.
mother like, "What are you doing? We
What are you
gotta
doing?
wash and dry it."
Mhm.
And she said, "You know what? Don't worry about it. Do what's comfortable for you."
Right.
I get in the shower with my slippers on,
That's right.
right? All type of stuff. But I learned to laugh at myself and
Yeah.
not look down on myself because of those things. And right now, working for the campaign for the fair sentencing of youth, which we fight to ban life without parole nationally for children. I can
Mhm,
say this. I've learned more about the brain science in children and
mhm,
the importance of protecting children. And I
mhm,
just want to say this to listeners. A child will always be a child, no
mhm,
matter what choices they make, good or bad. It's not a choice that a child can make that makes them an adult. It makes it a horrible decision if that's what it was, but
mhm.
it doesn't make them an
I'm
adult.
an adult.
And as a country, we have protection bumpers in place to protect children.
Mhm.
Can't sign a contract, you can't vote, you can't smoke cigarettes, you can't drink, you can't drive at a certain age,
Yeah.
right? But if that same child make a bad decision, we're now saying that our children are adults.
Right. We're just gonna bump that up. Everything
Right,
else that we're putting, uh, the perimeters around, we're drinking and graduating and going to war and all those things, we're just gonna bump that up and make it to where
right,
it doesn't matter.
right.
And you and I were talking, Eddie, before this, there's been a lot of studies on this. And,
Hmm.
I think the full maturity of the brain is around 24. And there's a lot of people like you until 2012. They said you can't give somebody life in
Right,
prison without parole as a teenager
Right.
because it's not science.
Right.
You've got to understand the science of the body, and thank God that happened, because there's a lot of people that were in life without parole,
Yes.
and that ruling, changed a lot of people's lives.
Yeah.
And
And
there's
I
a lot
work
of
with
those
a lot
people
of them.
that are out that are actually changing lives for people because they
Oh,
were
they
able to
are.
get
I
out.
work with a lot of them across the country.
Yeah,
Um, a lot of them, and I'm under CFSY, my organization I work for. It's also a subset organization called ICANN, Incarcerated Children's Advocacy Network, but we're adults. And we have 320 members across the country, right? But it's thousands of people who are home who had life and de facto life.
yeah,
But it's like 15 to 1700 who actually had natural life. That's home.
mm,
But de facto life looked like this: 40, 50, 30, 60, 100 years life with parole. Those are de facto life sentences for children.
yeah.
And I work with people who actually, my coworker, she was actually 13 when she went to jail. She
Wow.
done 17 years. Her
Yeah,
brother was 12. So, but I work with people across the country that are doing awesome things in their community to give back, to change the narrative that children need to be thrown away. We're fighting those negative things,
no,
right?
and I tell you what, Eddie, this is why I love doing this show. These type of stories re-inspire me. I get to sit in this chair, but I get to hear someone who was, an ADX and was basically locked in for years, and they didn't expect you to come out and do anything. They
No.
didn't expect you to take any opportunities, and you made that happen for yourself.
Hmm.
I want to ask you, Eddie, going through everything that you've gone through, and I mean, we've talked about a lot of your life here and being from, that 16-year-old kid, and now, what do you think's your biggest takeaway through all of this?
My biggest takeaway from all of this is access to opportunity for children, resources for this children across the board, right? Um, and me learning that resilience, resiliency can be a good thing,
Mhm,
but we shouldn't have to put children through these things to make them be resilient.
mm,
It should be other alternative things that we can do to help support children, right? And like the work we do organizationally, we not only work with people who come home, we work with their family members and we work with victims of youth violence.
mm,
Survivors of youth violence have been a part of the staple of this organization, right? So when this organization was first built, 2009, the start, we had family members and survivors of youth violence at the helm of this.
mm,
So it's woven into the fabric of the organization.
mhm,
And we are doing new work around transformative healing justice work, restorative justice work. And I've helped create a space where I coin, community care space, where once a year we get a lot of us that go to a space where it's water for 2 or 3 days with a social worker. And there's no expense of theirs. We pay for everything. Just
mhm,
come. And we have a lot of laughter. We have a lot of tears. We have a lot of growth. And we're helping people go back into the community to be mentally healthy to do the work.
mhm.
Because it's draining work when you go in the field and you
Sure.
give yourself,
Yeah.
right? But I can tell you, if we want to talk about people who are doing things in the community, and I call these people, and again, they have all races and religions, different states. I call them my brothers and sisters.
Mhm,
If you name someone doing work in the community, I can name one of my brothers and sisters who doing work, doing the same type of work. And they're business owners, they're artists, they're teachers, they're grandparents, they're parents. You know, they're everything that we want to be when we want to see a community thriving.
mhm.
And I tell people I take this work so serious because most people think that we don't care about safety. My wife and my children, I want them to always be safe.
Yeah.
That's very important to me, right? And that's for a lot of us who have spouses, who have family members who are there for us. That's a source of our strength when we're not doing the work.
Right.
That's a source of that strength to say, hey, you need to slow down, right? So that's the stuff that I tell people. I'm not proud of going to jail. I'm not proud of what happened. And like again, I take full responsibility for what took place. But in my time now, I had to find a time to forgive myself.
How old are your kids?
Well, my older kid's 29, 27. My baby is 12. My older two, I married into them when they were young.
Okay.
So those are my children as well.
Yeah.
My daughter's the oldest, two boys the youngest.
Yeah.
And I've been blessed to have a wonderful wife who
I love it.
gave me the privilege to marry into my children
I love
and
that.
and to take her hand in marriage. And she's been such a support to me throughout the field, throughout this work. I mean, just in my life in general. And that's why I tell people, for me, I'm seeking happiness and peace for myself. And that's how I live my life. I don't subscribe to the streets. I don't
Mhm.
subscribe to the street rules,
Mhm.
right? I'm a person that's living life, right? I'm a supportive of the community. I'm a
Mhm.
supportive of what's right. And the brothers and sisters I work with, that's what they stand on. All right. And we on the front line doing the work, whether it's physically on the front line, emotionally and mentally on the front line. We on the front line making changes in the community, and for me, when this happened to me in Montgomery, Alabama at Brian Stevenson's museum, at the Legacy Museum. We went there a few years ago, and there was a young white gentleman at the top of the steps. He said, "Hey, do you work for CFSY?" I said, "Yes, my name is Eddie Ellis." He said, "I know you." I said, "You don't know me?" He said, "You spoke at a class at Middlebury University in Vermont 10 years ago." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Matter of fact, I was just looking at that picture in my phone."
Mm.
I opened up the phone and showed him the picture. He said, "That's me right there sitting right on the couch with you. Your conversation helped guide where I wanted to go in my career."
Yeah, that's what I'm
You know
talking
how much
about.
that meant to me
Oh
to have
man,
an impact on this young person when
huge.
he was in school?
Yeah, just huge. If people want to get a hold and be a part of anything, it's the campaign for the fair sentencing of the youth, and there's also the your nonprofit, one on one.
One by one ink.
I mean, one by one Inc.
Yeah.
Eddie,
Find me
man,
on Instagram. Find me on
yeah,
Facebook, Eddie Ellis.
LinkedIn.
Yes, LinkedIn. I'm there. I'm in the community. Somebody want me to come speak, talk, whatever. I just want to be a part of the community, and the United States is my community.
There you
You
go.
know that's my community, and wherever I step my feet in to do work, that place will be my community, and I would love it and support it and respect it as such.
I love it, man. What a great comeback. What a great comeback story. I love these kind of stories. Uh, Speaking of gratitude and everything else that goes with it, I want to give a shout out to Homestead Financial. Lets me use this podcast room and all the fancy lights and stuff. If you got home mortgage needs out there, Greg Afdiev is your guy. If you're looking for a book, I've got one: Nightmare Success, Loyalty, Betrayal, Life Behind Bars, Adapting, Finally Breaking Free. And if you got time, leave me a review on Apple. It really helps the show. And if you want to know what I'm doing, go to brentcassity.com. I spell it wrong. I spell it with a TY, not a DY. As I used to say to my people when I was writing my emails back and forth from Leavenworth, stay strong. I'll do the same.
Right.
Eddie Ellis, man, thank you so much for being and doing and keep doing all the stuff you're doing.
And thank you, Brent, for what you're doing, putting the message out there and doing what you're doing. This is very important. This is about that proximity, and you're bringing people proximate to these stories and let people see that change is actually possible.
I appreciate that, man. Nightmare Success, in and out.
Thank you.